Hi, this is Blake, and I'm going to go over how to do validation. So I'm here in the Tanzania mini-grids list of projects that we've been working on, and I'm just going to grab one of these and I'm going to start doing validation on it. So this one has 0% validated, so I'm just going to click on it, and I'm going to click on the Validate tab. And this is what I want you to look at closely. You can sort this by a number of things, and probably one of the most important ways to sort this is by last validation date. And what I want you to see is this person hasn't had anybody review their work and mark it validated in 17 days, and that's way too long. The other thing I want you to notice are these two users. I mean, these three, all of these users, basically all of these users right here, this is when they registered for the tasking manager. So if they registered 14 days ago and their last validation date is 14 days ago, it's quite probable that they've never had their work validated. Same thing with this. When the registered date matches the last validation date, the chances are high that they've never had validation. So it's really important that we get these folks validated. Somebody needs to look at their work and give them feedback. 8, 10, 2 days ago, that kind of thing, that's not great, but it's better than this 14, 15 days. It just can't be that long since somebody's reviewed their work or they're doing a lot of mapping that could be bad. So all of this these folks have had their validation in the last 24 hours. So hopefully we've caught any consistent mistakes they're making. But always come to this validation tab and sort by last validation date. And then what I want you to see is, and it's kind of hard to see, but if you hover over this start button, it highlights the task squares that they have mapped or they've marked as completed. And you can check out all of these task squares at once, and it's a bit of a process, but this is sort of the same process that you can also use for validating by drawing a polygon. So let me just I'm gonna do that one time, and if you follow along, you'll probably have to maybe watch it again or something like that. But I'm going to go ahead and say start because I want to get this person's mapping validated. So I'm going to say start, and that checks out these three at once. And now when I say, you can only use in JOSM, by the way. When I say start editor, the only thing that happens is it creates an empty data layer. There's no OpenStreetMap data, and it creates this task boundaries layer. And what I do is I right click on this and I say convert it to a GPX layer. It makes it really easy to see. But there's no OSM data. So what you have to do is, because you can imagine if JOSM will only download data in a bounding box. So it would try and download all of this data. So we can't do that. So you have to zoom in yourself. You need to zoom in to, approximately the size of this box. Get it to fit on your screen and say download data. And now it'll download the data for this particular area. And you can start to see, okay, so it's not lined up here. I didn't look at the instructions. Maybe we're supposed to use digital globe imagery. Yes, okay, so they use digital globe for this. And this will give you a chance to review their mapping, and it looks like somebody's mapping matches Bing here. Maybe they didn't map that. You need to fix that up. If the instructions say digital globe, then when we're all done, this needs to match digital globe. So there's some work to be done here to get this correct, to match up with digital globe. You can readjust the background imagery. This is what happens when people do that. Anyhow, the point being, download block by block here and then review the data and see how they did. You can come back to the tasking manager, and if I know this is the one I was just working on, I can click on this one and I can mark it as valid or invalid. I can click on this one and mark it as invalid or valid. Or I can click off and then say reselect them and mark them all as valid or mark them all as invalid. So that gives you a sense of how to do this. But the point is, you'll just get a data layer and you'll get the task boundaries, and now you need to download the data yourself for each one of these squares to review. And you can see this is partly why we have an instruction. If you look at the instructions that most people are not following, we have an instruction that says never use the select random task button. Select tasks near each other while mapping, touching if possible. This will make validation go much, much faster. Because you can imagine if instead of 3 random things all the way around here, they had 3 or 4 just that were in a group, it would be very easy in the tasking manager here. These would all be grouped and I'd be able to kind of download all their data at once and we could validate all their stuff at once and be done with it. That's not the case here though, because they didn't follow that advice. So make sure I'd have to zoom over here and download this data, and this is just the way it works. So I'm going to just I'm going to delete all this and get ready to do the next one. Just delete these when you're all done. Come back to the tasking manager. Mark them as valid or invalid, or say stop validating, which is what I'm going to do. I also want you to see there's a very similar process where we can select an area by drawing a polygon. This is not focused on the mappers. Oh, by the way, I'm going to go back to how you can sort this. Another thing that you can do is you can sort by their level. So maybe all these advanced people, they go really fast. So see, this person did it right. This person basically tried to select things that were near each other so that it would be pretty easy to get most of their data. This person didn't. Looks like they were using the random button. Random button. Maybe they were trying to do it the right way. You can see they clustered some of theirs so it would be easier to validate. That's what we're hoping for. Do these things close to each other. This person looks like they're doing it the right way, and these are all advanced users. So these might go really fast. If you sort by level, you might be able to, they'll have done it all right, check it out, you can just mark them all as validated. But the other thing that you can do is you can validate by drawing a polygon. This is not focused on getting individual mappers feedback. This is focused on getting the validation done. So you can select an area by drawing a polygon. This is a pretty big polygon. This is probably too big of an area. But then you say start validating, and you can check all of these out at once. And then say start editor, and it does a similar sort of a thing. It gives you this grid, except I always convert it to a GPX layer. I still have to zoom in and download the data myself, but you can see for big portions of this, there's probably very little data to download. These will be really quick to validate. I probably would not have checked out so many at once, but you can certainly do, 4 or 6 or, little squares that makes it really easy to download the data and do the validation, and then come back to the tasking manager and mark them all valid or invalid. I'm going to say stop validating. Another thing you can do down here is you can have Bing imagery open. So you could sort of see before you select your area if it looks, if this is mostly grassland, then you can select by drawing a polygon. I'm just going to get these 4, say start validating. Did I delete all my stuff here? And I'm going to say start my editor. Okay, so what did I do here? These are the old. Okay, delete your layers before you go back and do another set. So I always make these things GPX layers, and now I can just download this data. And I can see, so somebody did a little bit of mapping here. And well, let's see, I should make sure I have the right imagery. I should read the instructions and see what the imagery is, because these don't look like buildings to me. Yeah, it looks like somebody is maybe mapping stuff that are not buildings. Yeah, this person needs feedback. This Warda 93 needs feedback that they're mapping stuff that isn't buildings. But you get the idea how this works. This let me download 4 at once. There's not really a lot. I can just check and see what's going on here. And I could get this all validated. So I hope that helps. I would come back here and I would validate all of these. That's not that much. And I would mark them all as, get them right. If there's stuff to fix, just fix it, add it in, delete it, do whatever you can. If it's quick. If it's going to take a long time, mark it as invalid and somebody will have to come back and remap it. This looked pretty easy to fix. They had some stuff that was bushes. I would just fix it and then do all valid. But for now, I'm just going to say stop validating. So I hope that helps a little bit with the validation process. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.